Do you want to make your own animated pilot but have no idea where to start? Well, I'm a professional animator, and in this video, I'll be breaking it down into 5 clear steps for you to follow no matter your experience level. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a 2D animator, and my friends and I are currently creating an indie animated pilot called Cassie Loves Cooking. You can watch the trailer here. And sign up to our newsletter for weekly project updates below. I'm going to start by explaining what an animated pilot is, why so many of them are living on YouTube instead of networks right now, and then most importantly, how you can make one yourself. I'll walk you through how to take a pilot from an idea to something that actually exists in the world, and I've left chapter markers below if you want to skip straight to the steps, but I do recommend that you stick around for the context. About 10 years ago, I was moonlighting at a small indie game company, and we tried to crowdfund a game called Space Cats in Space. It was a difficult bullet hell style shooter that was very technical, and unfortunately it didn't succeed in crowdfunding, so the full game never got made. But before that funding round, we spent almost a year promoting it. We went to lots of conventions with the story, the art, the trailer, and a small demo. That meant we were getting real-time feedback from people who were actually engaging in the project. And something really interesting kept coming up. People really loved the silly story of the cats and the dogs fighting in space. They loved the characters and the cartoony vibe, but the actual game was quite serious and skill-based. So there was this mismatch between what people expected and what they got. Looking back, I think that mismatch had a lot to do with why the project failed, but I never forgot how much people really connected with the story and with the art. Eventually, the indie game company shut down and I was given the rights to the idea. Years later, that same premise, cats fighting dogs in space, became the foundation for Cassie Loves Cooking. The story is completely different now. It's more fantasy and drama than action and combat, but the themes and the importance of visual language are still there. And after almost a decade, I realized that animation was the medium that best suited what people had connected to in the first place. As I rebuilt the story, it became clear to me that I wanted it to be episodic, and that meant I had to make a pilot. If you're into animation at all, you've probably realized that indie animation is booming right now. Amazing new pilots are popping up all over YouTube. There are a lot of reasons for this. Networks are more cautious than ever and only want IP that has a guaranteed fan base. Artists are frustrated with studios and the resulting lack of work, and sometimes indie is just the best fit for a career artist that wants complete control over the stories they want to tell. Before we jump into the 5 steps to make it happen for yourself, it's important to understand what a pilot episode is and what purpose it serves. In indie animation, artists often go one of 3 ways. You can make a short, a feature, or a series. A series is a longer format that is split into episodes, and those episodes often start production with pitches and pilots. As you develop your idea, you will need to decide which path best suits your project and your resources. Like, if you don't have access to grants or loans or investor funding, it makes sense to scale down your idea to a short film or a pilot. You can always pick up your feature-length idea later when you have more support. If you think your idea works best as a series, a pilot episode is usually the right move because TV shows are massive and you probably don't have the resources to animate all of that for free. If you are making a full show, you are going to need money. And a pilot is a great way to demonstrate to the people with that money that you have what it takes to make a full series. Its job is to show what the series could become and really get people excited, whether that's a network, a studio, or an audience of people online that you build yourself. Traditionally, creators pitch shows to networks using a pitch deck, a document that roughly outlines the same information as a pilot would. But in the current economy, studios have less appetite for risk and rely more on remakes or sequels. Because of this, even strong pitch decks are often not enough on their own, especially for newer creators. Releasing a fully animated pilot online and growing a real fan base can show studios that that audience already exists, and making your show is a much safer bet. At the same time, studios are becoming much less reliable, so animators are choosing to fund their series independently through platforms like YouTube, Kickstarter, Patreon, merch, and brand deals. For that to work, you need an audience that is willing to financially support you, and the best way to earn that trust is by releasing an animated pilot. The process is the same. You're just pitching directly to the audience instead of to a studio. For Cassie Loves Cooking, we chose to fund the series independently. We believe there is a real audience for our show who we want to connect with directly and authentically, rather than risk losing the IP to a studio who might reject or cancel it anyway. The point is, there is no single correct path. The important thing is deciding whether a pilot is right for you and what you want it to accomplish before you start making it. Animation is hard. To get made at all, animation needs to follow a very structured pipeline, and these 5 steps will be an overview of that process. Not how to do specific things like draw storyboards or animating, because there are already so many amazing videos on YouTube from very talented creators on how to do these things. So please check them out if you want to learn these skills. And remember, you can always collaborate with people with different skill sets as you. So I encourage you to just start somewhere with whatever skill level you are comfortable at. These steps are about getting your pilot to exist in a way that's sustainable and effective, and I'll use examples from Cassie Loves Cooking as we go. Before we make anything, you need to know who this pilot is for. If you don't know its purpose, it's going to be very hard to know what success looks like and what you should be aiming for. If your purpose is pitching to a network, you want it to be either 11 or 22 minutes long to match broadcast standards. You want it to look appealing to them, so check out the styles that network is known for. The subject matter should be more broad, and remember that networks are usually segmented by age group, where the internet has hyper-specific algorithms that give you access to niche communities with topical interests. If you want to go indie and your animation is for online fans, length is less of an issue. Just remember to remain consistent. Everyone loves consistency. Remember, your style can be less polished than traditional studio work. Audiences often look to indie animation for less mainstream styles. Your subject matter can be niche because of algorithms. Just keep your target audience in mind from the beginning and build your show around them. You also need to think about marketing towards that specific audience very early. Marketing is purpose. It's just as important as the animation itself. Animation is what makes it exist, but the marketing is what gets it seen and funded. Think about what actions you will need to take in either instance. Will you need to network to get your pilot in front of a studio, or will you need a strong online presence to grow your fan base organically? I made an entire marketing plan for Cassie Loves Cooking before we started any animation. Because we are going indie, you can see it covers organic social posting, an email list, and even paid ads as we get towards the crowdfunding stage. Once you know the purpose of your pilot, you can get started making it. This starts with writing and visual development. You want to get everything you have in your head onto a page. It doesn't have to be perfect, you just have to get it out there to build on in the next stages. What's the premise? What's the tone? Write about the world, your characters, and what they look like. You can use references, drawings, and test animations. You can see a breakdown of how we did this for Cassie Loves Cooking in our world building video here. Making a production deck helped me clarify my ideas and made it a lot easier to show the project to other people. When you are explaining an idea for a whole show to your friends, it can get a bit confusing, and having something visual I could just send to them to look over was much more digestible. Also, seeing your work in a visual format is really motivating. It shows you how far you've come, especially at the beginning. So even though we're not pitching to studios, a pitch-like deck ended up being one of the best tools to motivate ourselves and for familiarizing other people with the project. I would highly recommend making one. Once you have your concept figured out, you can move on to pre-production. It's where most of the big decisions get made, and it almost always takes longer than you expect. Even though you don't see much animation yet, this is where the animation really gets built, so stick with it. It will be worth it. I am going to show you a cool picture of the Cassie Loves Cooking production pipeline, but you can find these all over the internet from a variety of studios, all following a similar structure. In this pre-production stage, you'll turn your idea into a script and then break that script down into storyboards and finally turn those boards into an animatic. An animatic is a very basic timed version of your animation made out of your storyboards, some extra drawings, some voice acting, and some basic editing. It's how you plan your scenes before committing to the final animation. You can see that the animatic for the Cassie Loves Cooking pilot is actually quite basic compared to a lot of the animatics you see on YouTube, because all we did was time out the storyboards in an editing program. There is no rule about how many frames you should be drawing, as it varies per production. Ours have less poses drawn in the animatic, so the animators will have a lot more freedom to add life to the scenes in the way that they want. Your animatic will let you know if your story actually works on screen, and you can make changes now while they are still fast and cheap before you spend months animating. That is why pre-production is one of the most important parts of animating. You want to sort out mistakes early with a basic map of your production before your whole project implodes. Remember, a strong pre-production stage will save you more time than any animation shortcut ever could, so do not move on to the next step until you are totally happy with it. If you need more info on creating each item, I'm leaving links to videos to scriptwriting, storyboarding, and creating animatics for animation below. Once pre-production is locked in, you can finally move on to animation. If your pre-production work is solid, this stage should feel a lot more straightforward. You'll be able to pull a clear shot list from your animatic and start creating character animation and background art with confidence. A lot of the groundwork should already be done in the animatic, and now you're adding details with the animation. Think about how your characters move and emote and speak and interact with the environment around them. Every choice should help pull the audience emotionally into the story. But this is also where restraint really matters. Animation is hard, and everything you don't have to animate is a bonus, especially when working with budgets and deadlines. Remember, the whole point of the pilot is to sell an idea, not the detail. So try to take shortcuts wherever you can without hurting that clarity by choosing a level of polish that makes sense for your goals. Like this scene where we zoom into the dog's spaceship. You can see these guards next to the door flip and the bones appear on different sides all of a sudden. Is it perfect? No, but you can't really notice it and you still understand what's happening in the scene. Pilots often have this charming weirdness to them, and I think that's okay. They are supposed to be selling a point, not an entire perfect show. If you need some help learning how to animate, I'll leave some links to some wonderful creators below. Once the animation for your pilot is done, it's time to release it. At this point, you're not working on your animation anymore, and you're aiming for visibility. It's not really fun or creative, but this stage determines whether you get what you wanted out of the pilot. Whether you are pitching to studios or to fans online, the destination is the same. You want to put it online in a place that is seen, shared, and talked about. For most indie creators, that's YouTube. And if you are going for studio funding, that view number really matters. Views will show that studio or your fans that backing this project is worthwhile. If you want to crowdfund for future episodes, this is also the time to do that. You can support it online with social media or a website with clear next steps for anyone who has finished the pilot and wants more. You want to make it easy for viewers to go from watching to supporting. For instance, we run a newsletter for Cassie Loves Cooking where we send weekly updates to fans that will include crowdfunding opportunities in the future. An algorithm-friendly YouTube channel or even an old-fashioned media push can help a lot. That could mean reaching out to websites, creators, or communities that care about indie animation and ask them to promote your work. The main thing is that the more eyes you have on your pilot, the more options you create for yourself. More views means more community and more potential paths forward, whether that's through studio funding or crowdfunding. So if you are creating a show, making a pilot is a huge investment, but it's also one of the most powerful tools you have as an animator. It lets you build an audience and fund your work, whether an established studio is involved or not. If you want to follow along as we make the pilot for Cassie Loves Cooking, I'll be posting regular videos here about the process. But if you want behind the scenes updates and early info on crowdfunding, the best place to be is the newsletter. It's free and it's where we share the most detailed updates about the project. You will also get a free pack of digital stickers and access to the Discord server. I'll leave a link below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and always
support indie animation.